Good morning, everyone, and welcome into another edition of WST Sunday Live. My name is Hrabchak, as always, joined today by Lyss, Houde, and Jacob Stoller. We've got the full crew here today, and let me just say, I'm a lot more yellow than these two on the screen. I'm in like the business center of a hotel here in Vancouver for the 111th Grey Cup, as it is today, and we will talk about the Bomber game later on in the show. Hustler and Remus have been on location here. It got you covered from all angles on the Bombers all week long. We're going to talk about it a little bit more, but obviously the Jets are the focus. Lyss, how are you doing today?
I'm doing super well. It's been a fun week of Jets hockey, some really, really strong competition that we've watched them play against, and some results better than others. So we have lots to talk about today, which is always something that makes for a fun Sunday.
Yes, absolutely. Jacob, how are you doing today on this Sunday?
I'm doing good. Connor, are you like the guy in the continental breakfast unit right now that's like taking a business call and pissing off everyone having breakfast?
Yeah. I hope everyone likes hearing about the Winnipeg Jets.
Behind you, is there a Fruit Loop container where guys are getting their
waffle iron?
Yeah. And like you're just doing a podcast.
My waffles just beeped. Hold on. I'll be right back. You guys
I gotta give Connor credit though. He has no shame. He'll film a Illegal Curve post game in the press box. You just do it. Doesn't matter where it is. Yeah, I respect that.
No, I'm in like a business center. It was like like an office space. Yeah.
Business,
strict business, Jacob. Yeah. Here. And no one's here yet. But again, if someone walks in, I hope they like hearing about the Winnipeg Jets. So
good stuff.
We shall see. Thank you everyone for joining us live here on this Sunday morning. Jets game last night. We'll get into it. They lost 5-0 to the Florida Panthers. Their first time losing 2 straight games this season, and it's November 17th. Feels crazy to say that. But everyone's still here live on a Sunday morning. Grey Cup Sunday. Thank you, everyone. Let's start with last night. Lyss, I'll start with you because you were on the Illegal Curve post-game show talking about this one. So what were your initial takeaways from the Jets getting stomped by the Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions, 5-0?
The way I started the show yesterday, and I have a feeling that both of you might push back on me on this a little bit. We'll see how it goes. This could be more conspiracy theory vibes than anything else. But this looked like a team that had the book on the Winnipeg Jets to me. I thought the Florida Panthers played a really, really interesting hockey game. I thought they forechecked really, really hard. But then the minute the Winnipeg Jets gained like pretty solid possession of the puck, they retreated so hard into like the most conservative trap of all time, which usually those two things I feel like don't always go together. But the Winnipeg Jets could not break through that blue line. And that's the type of hockey that has beat this particular roster of Winnipeg Jets players for years. And it seems like Paul Maurice knew that. That was my takeaway.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I listened to Kenny and Rennie last night for a bit, and both of them, I think, said that the morning of, they were practicing a similar sequence to the Schmidt goal, where off the blocker rebounds, and then the exact situation happened in the game. And I think what that tells me is every team in the league pre-scouts opponents, right? They all have sport logic. They all have different, similar ways to get an idea of how the team game plans. Mm-hmm. But above just watching the team's last couple of games of video, guys, Paul Maurice knows the personnel inside and out. And I think Lyss is bang on. I think that they had the knowledge everyone else had, but also a lot more intel matchup-wise with some of this personnel. And I think from there, too, I don't think it was totally that, but I think the beginning was 100%, which, deflated any momentum, was a complete direct result of just knowing how to play the Jets. And I also think even if it wasn't the Panthers, guys, if you're a team that watched the Tampa game, the last game, you're pre-scouting, and you're Florida, who plays a similar, not totally, but there's similarities to Tampa.
Yep.
Play your game.
Yeah.
There's, and we'll get to that, but there's things you can expose with this team.
I agree. I'm with you both. I think last year in the playoffs, you saw it. Colorado's a team that, chipped and chased on the Jets like till they won the series, and they scored a ton of goals and turned over a ton of pucks. And when the Jets turn the puck over in the neutral zone a lot or have these backbreaking turnovers, it seems to snowball, especially against teams like Florida, because they'll just get the puck in and they will just forecheck you to death, and they'll be in the zone for 2 minutes and you can't get out. And that's just that's how they want to play, right? And I think that's the style of play that the Jets struggle with the most, is those Colorado types. Even the Colorado game, Jets won 1-0, but they were not the better team in that game. The Tampa Bay game, lost that one as well. Similar style, like you said, Jacob. And then last night, 5-0. But Eric K saying nobody panic. Where are your guys' panic levels at? First 2-game losing streak of the year. Are they frauds, Lyss?
Okay, so here's where I'm at. And again, for those of you who are on the legal curve last night, first of all, thank you for being there. Second of all, this might be a little bit of a repeat. I came up with this weird little formula near the end of the show, and I was like, I'm going to need some time to think about this. Thought about it a little bit more throughout the night, and I liked it. I'm going to go with it again. So I feel like a hockey team, I'm going to judge them based on their personnel and like the skill of their personnel, how they manage situations, like their agility, and then their kind of like mental toughness, whatever. And I feel like last year, the Winnipeg Jets, since this roster looks pretty similar, I do think they have the skills and the personnel. Like, I think this team is very good. Like, I think they have a lot of the right pieces. We know they have the goaltender. We know they have the scoring talent. And based on what we've seen in a lot of these games, they have the defense to a certain extent. The other things, the mental toughness and the agility. Last year, the Winnipeg Jets did not change and adapt enough to the Colorado Avalanche. They weren't an agile enough team to manage what that team was throwing at them. This year, early on, I feel like we're seeing that they have a little bit of the potential to be agile, but that is where my question mark is around this team, is if they have the ability to make those changes and kind of divert from their traditional, like what they want to do, their game plan and stuff like that to win hockey games. And that's what I'm watching for. And if they can't do that in this next stretch of hockey, like, playing against tough teams and having a couple losses under the belt, that's when I hit the panic button. It's a little bit too early for me to tell. I'm not going to sit here and look at, them having a winning record and say we can't talk about them and be critical about them, because they'll have a winning record for at least the next 14 games or whatever, right? So I'm not going to use that, but it'll be very interesting to see how they manage and adapt.
Yeah. Jacob, Go ahead.
I think this next game is the most pivotal of the year, because now you have a situation where a rare one, where you have a home and home, and you have a second crack at a team. We saw in Colorado what happened. We all know it, how the Jets didn't adapt. Here's a situation. Let's say that they're playing Florida in a 4-game series. You get thumped in game 1. How do you respond? How do you respond when a team figures you out? And how do you adapt? Really interesting quote last night that Nikolai Ehlers said to reporters in Fort Lauderdale, like Ken Wiebe, the Free Press, was, we didn't adapt. We kept being, and the game before, I don't remember who said it, but someone, maybe it was Appleton, I don't know, but after the Tampa game, someone said something to the effect of them being a bit stubborn. And it's funny because you always hear things about how the Jets talk about their identity, sticking to their game, which is great. And I don't think the structure of their game is wrong. I think that the way they protect the slot, the way that they cycle the off, like strive to cycle offensively, and the way that they want to produce offense, I think that's all great. But I asked Connor, you may remember, what game did I ask Scott Arniel about the neutral zone? And he kind of didn't agree with me.
It might have been the Colorado game, was it?
No, like maybe? Recently. Oh, was that?
Yeah. Because that was on the most recent.
That was pretty recent. Yeah.
It might have been. Okay. Yeah. If anyone remembers the chat, they might know. But anyways, I asked Arniel about the neutral zone, and he kind of rebuffed it and was like, I pay more attention to the offensive zone, defensive zone. Fair. Neutral zones, whatever. Ken Wiebe last night asked Arniel about the neutral zone and that kind of thing. And I talked to somebody, a little birdie told me, that has access to numbers that we don't. That's what I'll say. Is that the Jets are one of the most passive teams in neutral zone analytically in terms of denials. Does that surprise anyone? Like, we're seeing time and time again, like even the Seattle game, which they came back on, right, guys? Like, we're seeing teams kind of enter easily. And Connor, you mentioned chip and chase, but a lot of you and I during that 7-6 fiasco of Colorado game 1, I remember when even the Jets were winning, we said, like, Colorado's getting in the zone like effortlessly,
Yeah.
And yes, they're playing against Nate Mack and Rantanen, but there's this, oh my God, to kind of look on the ice when those guys were entering with speed. In Seattle, I saw similar instances. So the reason I bring up the neutral zone is I think that right now, my biggest question mark is, like, how do they fix that? How do they, like, I think the Jets' biggest problem is how do they get from the defensive zone to the offensive zone and then figure out, because like last night, they weren't in the offensive zone at all. They were barely there.
Yeah.
And that's because plays were being muffled in the neutral zone. And then better yet, like, how do they defend teams coming in there? So I'm not going to go on some tactics rants or anything. I don't have the information that those coaches do, or to be frank, the X's and O's knowledge of what I would change. But to me, like, that's where I could see a team like Florida or Tampa Bay exploiting the Jets in terms of a matchup, and in a playoff series, the Jets being exploited just the way they were last year. Like, that's the most concerning part to me, because time and time again, we're seeing it. And I think that even the games like Dallas or New York, right? Like, if you watch those games back, the Jets were able to get through the offensive zone like 7 times out of 10, whatever, like just more frequently than just 50-50. And what that does is you get more reps, more chances to set up on the cycle. If you're only entering the zone like 3 times cleanly, or like 4 or 5 times in a period where you're maintaining possession, you can't sustain anything. So like that to me is the biggest question mark. I don't know if that's like a nerdy micro thing that no one can understand, but that's like my biggest X factor for this team right now.
It's so funny that you say that, because Connor and I, we put out a deep dive yesterday on the power play, and it's not the exact same thing, but basically we're talking about like, oh, like, why is the power play going so well and everything. And one of the points that we had to mention early on, it's like when you add Nikolai Ehlers to the top unit, you simply increase the number of seconds you spend in the offensive zone, and therefore you're able to do a little bit more. Like, it's not rocket science. Like, you need to get zone time in order to do shit. Pardon my French. Like, it's not crazy. I completely agree with what you're saying, and I feel like they should be practicing this against themselves, because they struggle to defend it and they also struggle to break into it. Like, they're a team that does really well. Pardon me?
I said even the chip and chase game though, transition. Even when they're chipping and they're not retrieving it. It's like it's every way, the way that they want to play, they're not even doing it that well.
No. Yeah, they do best, in my opinion, when they catch someone and they're able to have a little, the 3-on-2s, the 2-on, like the breaking up the ice when the other team hasn't set up yet. Because as soon as the other team, like you said, plays their game, wow.
Yeah. And look, this a lot of people are bringing it up in the chat. This stretch is very tough in terms of both strength of competition, schedule. They have a 6-game road trip coming up after this one home game. So this is the thing. They had the 3-game road trip where they're in Florida and Tampa Bay here in New York. Then they come home for 1 game against Florida on Tuesday. Then they hit the road for a 6-game road trip. So that's like a just an extended 11-game road trip. Like, that's not a home stand when you come home for 1 game, right? That's just an extension of the road trip. So this is easily, and I said it before they even hit the road, this is easily the toughest part in the Jets' schedule, front to back, these next like 12 games. We're 3 games into it. They've won. They won against the Rangers, lost the next 2. Now, like Jacob said, it's time to respond. And I agree with you guys on the neutral zone. I think the top line, like, you can say it as an X factor for the entire team, but the top line from the dominant stretch they had for 7 games where they outscored their opponents 9-1, the high danger chances were like 27-11 with them on the ice. Then you come into these last 2 games where I personally think that they're playing way too casual in the neutral zone, turning pucks over, spending way too much time playing defense, and that's killing the Jets. And when you have your top line who's playing 17, 18 minutes a night, sometimes even more, playing poorly, especially in the neutral zone, that affects the entire team. So I 100% agree with you guys on that kind of neutral zone X factor. And I think it's even more true for the top line. Is there anything that you guys wanted to say about the Rangers game just before we kind of move on from this road trip? I know we are focusing on the negatives of the Tampa Bay and the Florida game where the Jets were outscored 9-1 combined. But Lyss, anything from the Rangers game on Tuesday? Jets.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe? In terms of, there are some questions in the chat about whether or not this team has, the talent and stuff like that. That was one of those games where, in my opinion, it was so back and forth, and you have a couple of guys that frankly do have that dog in them when it comes to scoring goals. Like, I really do believe that. And I think that was kind of a good example of that. But honestly, beyond that, was not my my most in tune game ever. I was not paying super close attention. I had it on in the background. I was out, and I other than that, like, I feel like I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say.
Jacob, thoughts on the Rangers game?
Yeah, I think that so I didn't watch it live. I watched it back after. And the key thing that I think is that was a situation where it kind of leaves nothing to be said in terms of if they have the players to do it. Like, I think that there's no doubt in any of our minds that, like, Scheifele, Ehlers, Connor had the ability to change the course of the game. Gabe Vilardi's road hockey-esque move, like, there's skill there. There's all those things. It's crazy, those guys. But the question is how they respond as a team. Like, that's the real big thing. In that game, they played quite well in that type of style. And I think that, honestly, the Jets probably don't want to be in a back and forth type of game, but they were able to do it. And what that stretch to me is indicative of, like, I don't know if any of you saw this on my Twitter, but the Jets' first 8-game win streak was done during playing unsustainable hockey. Like, their underlying metrics weren't great. Toronto punches them in the nose. Then that next 7-game win streak, they were playing amazing hockey against better opponents. Like, they went from, like, they were recording 2.4 expected goals per 60 in the first 8 games, which is like 23rd. Then that next 7-game winning streak, they're at 2.77, which is 8th. Big jump there. You know, high danger chances, like, expected goals against went from 24th to 12th. High danger shot attempts, 18th to 8th. They cleaned everything up. And I think that game was another example of that. They were involved in every sector of the ice. There was moments where they were, like, hemming the Rangers, and, like, it was insane. There was that sequence where I think it was in the second period where it's like the Rangers couldn't even, like, Jets got 2 line changes on them at one point. Like, they were able to do that. And I think that's just indicative of the style of play they need to play. Like, that's all I have on that one.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, for as much as we want to talk about, like, do we want to panic? Is this team fraudulent? Whatever term you want to use. Take the 2-game sample from Dallas and New York equally as the 2-game sample from Tampa Bay and Florida. And that's where you're at, I think, because the Dallas and New York games easily, I think, 2 of the Jets' best performances of the season against top competition. Like you said, Jacob, they proved that they can play at that level. Gabe Vilardi making that insane move. And then we talked about the concerns and what kind of came up in these last 2 games. And that's just kind of what it is. People trying to say, oh, this team is the best team in the NHL, or this team is a fraud and a first round out through 15 games. I don't really think that's valuable. One thing I wanted to ask. Yeah, Jacob, anything?
No, you got, I was going to railroad the conversation.
Okay.
I had a question to throw.
He's going to bring on Brad Lambert.
No, I'm not going to. Okay, I'll bring it up. Fine,
go.
Line blender. Where are you guys at of them changing the lines?
Lyss, you go ahead first.
Yeah, you go first.
See, I am always pro line blender, generally speaking. And yeah, Phyllis is right. He did bring it out last night.
In the third, yeah.
But that was because of the Scheifele fight, though.
And also because Perfetti didn't miss a shift at the beginning of the second or third period, I think, too. I don't think there actually was a responsive.
But there wasn't an actual blender.
No.
Because Scheifele was out.
The biggest blender, whatever, that we've seen this year was in the Colorado game. And that's when we actually saw all 4 lines get shaken up, sort of thing. The only kind of hesitation I have, or maybe it should be what makes me want to see the line blender, is that it seems like in different games, different lines are over or underperforming. Like last night, I don't know if anyone has the data pulled up or anything like that, but I don't think the Ehlers line had a single, like, shot against or anything. Like, they were the expected goals battle. I think they were like in the 95th percentile or something, you know, and it's like some games they've been terrible. The 4th line was brutal last night and they've been pretty good. There isn't one line that's really struggling or 2 lines that are really struggling. So that's why I think I might be pro line blender, in the sense of people used to be like, oh, like, you can't split up Lowry, Niederreiter, Appleton. I disagree. Like, those 3 guys can all play in slightly different roles if they need to, if it's in the best interest of the team. So I'm pro line blender, but the thing is, it's always with an asterisk of what will the blender spit out, because if it's worse than this, I don't want that, you know?
Yeah. Like, I've always thought, first of all, like, the Lowry, Appleton, Nino line, I think would be just as good defensively whoever were on the wings with Adam Lowry. Like, this is the best third line center in the league. You have the option of putting Iafallo with him, and that would be maybe not as much offense with less shot volume from Menino, but I think he'd still be good defensively. So there's so many options. I guess where I stand on it is I don't think that the line blending would change the issues that came up the last 2 games at all.
Mhm.
And I think that it'd actually be counterintuitive to change up the lines there when, like, when you have different guys, there's familiarity. Like, I just don't think that you're getting what you need out of it. You need the team to counteract a different attack from an opponent. I don't think that the lines themselves are incorrect. And I've been critical of the top line. I even have issues with the second line still a little bit, even though they've had their moments. Ehlers is driving them. I just don't think it's the time for it.
Yep, I agree. I'm with you on that. I think even through this Florida game on Tuesday, I'm anti-line blender if we're taking a side here.
Yeah.
Through this game on Tuesday, because like you said, Jacob, I think the issues that arose didn't come from, a lack of chemistry or lack of juice from these lines. It was a team effort on Saturday night.
Then I'm going to keep my stance here then, and I'm going to push back on you guys a little bit more, because I just think that we've seen a couple of really dominant stretches from that top line, but frankly, at the end of the day, like, even if the other 3 lines are performing super duper well, if your top line is playing against the top competition and is playing a third of the game, like, they need to be better. And I still don't believe I've seen anything from that line that makes me believe sustainably that they can be a top performing line in the NHL. And that's why I feel like I'm kind of like, I don't feel any desire to see them continue to play together when they're losing hockey games.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think, look, I'm anti-line blender through Tuesday's game because I think that those issues are correctable and they can get back to the style of play that they played against Dallas and New York with the same lineup. But I'm also pro line blender in the sense that they're 15-3. If you're going to make a few changes, now's really the time,
right?
Now's
very
the time
true.
to experiment a little bit. Yeah.
I also think that there is a little bit of a psychological thing too, where it's like, if they bring out the line blender for the game on Tuesday against Florida, they're kind of admitting that they're like, we don't know what to do, right? It seems like a little bit of a panicky move. And I think, stick to your guns, and like Nikolai Ehlers alluded to, like, adapt, obviously, but that's different than changing course of everything you're doing. There's a huge, huge, huge difference between those two things. So I'm anti line blender specifically for Tuesday or anything like that. But if, the game starts poorly again, and if you find that things are going similarly, I hope it comes out mid-game a lot earlier than we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I'm with you. Jacob, we got you. You're good?
Oh, yeah, I'm here the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried something, didn't work. We're all good.
Okay, sweet. No, all good. All good.
Every time I put on an outfit in the morning.
Yep. Yeah.
Anyways, one more thing on last night's game that I want to ask about. The Sportsnet panel after the game talked about it a little bit more than the Ryan Reeves hit, which we can talk about later if you guys want. But anyways, Neil Pionk actually this morning was fined $5,000, the maximum amount, for clipping Jesper Bachfist with that little hip check. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Where was I?
He was.
Is this NHL Rumor Bot, Connor?
No, this is TSN. This is
holy shit. Sorry, I
factual.
keep doing this.
Lyss. Yeah. Okay. So initial
you guys
reaction.
See what do you guys see what our Neil said?
No. What do you say?
Yeah. Ken asked him about it, and he goes, "Didn't miss a shift." And then he goes, "Thanks, guys." And that was it. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so
that was a great hit.
There you go. Yeah, I agree.
But, I gotta be honest with you guys. I wrote this in my Sportsnet piece, and upon reflection, I know how confident I am. Like, if it hits the knee, is it no longer clean? Like, that's what I'm trying to understand. Like, I thought it was a clean hit.
I agree too. Matt Hyman's asking the same question. Like, it looks a little low. If it's lower when it's like at the knee, right? Like you're saying,
low,
Jacob.
like, yeah. So I guess that's the question. Yeah. Like, low as
it like kind of hit his thigh area, thigh hip, maybe lower thigh area. I'd say. Like, I don't think it was knee. I don't think it was.
In the chat can find us the definition of clipping the fastest. Go.
Yeah,
because I don't know. I don't know what.
Yeah,
what
fine $5,000 for clipping. So again, and then this was my shock to it was after the hit after the game, the Toronto fiasco happened as well. But the Sportsnet panel was talking about how they thought it was a little bit of a cheap shot and it was unnecessary and it was a 5-0 game. And you know what? Fine. Like Turd Ferguson is saying here, would have been a better hit if it was 0-0 instead of 5-0. I get it. There's a few minutes left. There's only a few minutes left in a 5-0 game. I get it. Like if Florida is gonna lose their minds over it, 100% get it. But
then so then Mark Scheifele dropping the gloves with Aaron Ekblad can't do that either because the game's already gone. Whatever. Like,
well, okay, no, Lyss. The argument, I think, and I wrote about this last night. That response from the team should have happened a period before. The game was out of reach. That was all out of frustration, and Scheifele was mad and took a chance to do that, and then messed up. And Miller had some bite. I think they're all thrown up prematurely, but whatever. Like, that response needs to come a period before, not when the game is gone. You want to be mean. You want to play with some piss and vinegar. Do that when the game can be won, not when it's lost. That's my opinion on it. And I think that everyone...
Then I guess there's a difference then between the Scheifele and Pionk thing, in my opinion, because Pionk's is still a hockey play. Like, Scheifele does kind of look like a guy who's mad and whatever sort of thing. Like, Pionk sees the guy coming through.
Did you guys see that? Ekblad was caught off guard when Scheifele. I've watched replay a couple times. Ekblad's almost like, "Are you serious?" All right, like, and I think they're friends. They're buddies. They've spent time together in off seasons, and like that happens in hockey. But I think he was like, "Are you serious?" Like, and then it just happened. They just hugged for a bit. They just had a nice long bear hug.
Yeah. It was a useless fight. It was Mike Tyson, Jake Paul-esque.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah. But anyways. Yeah, I agree with you, Jacob. I think.
Wait, we cut off Lyss. I cut off Lyss.
Okay, yeah.
I don't remember what I was saying, so I don't think it really matters. But no, I was gonna say just the end of that game as a whole. There was all kinds of kind of stuff going on. And the reverse hit is the one that everyone's talking about too, with the Vlad Nemestikov, and that one also got some questions because everyone has different opinions on reverse hits. Curious to hear all of yours because I have one that's very. Maybe administrative is my question on it. I don't understand how they're allowed at all because Vlad Nemestikov doesn't have the puck, so you can't hit him. So what the huh?
Okay, I agree with you, but here's the one counter. If you take reverse hits out, so to speak, we all know what he did there, like the reverse hit. Like we all know that was intentional, but just saying, there's a lot of sequences where the reverse hit that people freak out about is a routine play. Where the guy's got the puck, he's backing into the guy to actually establish his positioning to maintain the puck, and then the guy falls or is caught at a bad spot. So you can't take that out of the game because then you're in a really gray area, is my point. So, like, for example, Logan Stanley or Scheifele going in that situation. A guy a couple of inches taller probably isn't getting hit that way, but also because their head isn't there. So I get it, like, Lyss, I totally do, but I just think that it's one of those situations where you can't really eliminate it because then you're taking out a lot more. What you're doing if you make it illegal, you're allowing players to flop, like in basketball. Because if you're going in and someone takes it, you can fully flop back.
Yeah,
it is. Listen, it's scary when you watch it. It's like, damn, like that was predatory. But yeah, I don't know if you can do much about it. I know we got off track, but guys, like, is that clipping?
No, it's not. He doesn't leave his feet.
Is that what clipping? Here we go. Any player deliberately leaves his feet. Pionk didn't leave his feet.
No, I just watched the video again after Gregory put this in the chat. He didn't leave his feet.
Thank you very much, Gregory. Yeah, I don't. That's puzzling to me.
Yeah, I have the CBA pulled up.
You would think, oh my God, Lyss. She has the CBA pulled up. That is the craziest.
I bookmarked on my phone. Just kidding.
I don't know. But maybe they saw it like, we can't call this kneeing. So we're gonna call it clipping. I don't know. That's questionable to me.
It's one of those things that's pretty wild. Like, I don't know. Like it's kind of similar to my goalie interference bit that I get so angry about goalie interference where, you can call back a goal for goalie interference because you believe that an infraction was committed against the goaltender. It's like, then that's a penalty. Like when a goal gets waved back for someone interfering with the goalie. Right. If someone interferes with the goalie, why aren't they getting a penalty then? Like, I just don't understand the consistency of what we're calling here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it was a 5-0 game, right? So it's pretty inconsequential in terms of that, but I was shocked to see him come down with the fine. Any other thoughts on, we'll move off of NHL officiating and well, I guess we could talk about Ryan Reeves later on. You guys have a game guess for suspension for Ryan Reeves? Quick thoughts.
Is he repeat offender technically?
Yeah.
Stupid
It has
question.
to be, I feel like at this
Duh.
point.
Like, yeah, of course. I don't know, guys. Like 3?
3?
I
You think
could see
that's
it
a lot
being
or
more.
not enough? Really?
I think it's
Higher.
Well, I'm not
slightly more,
okay.
but-
If I was I give him 7 games, but I'm just trying to be like,
I get
and
that.
like the
Yeah.
George Peros. Oh, I hope it's 3 or something because Leafs fans will lose their mind with Peros.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I don't know. What do you think? 5?
I think it'll be in that 5 to 7 range. Yeah. Like straight to the head.
Yeah, straight to the head.
It
It's
was
so funny.
Bad.
Did you guys see that Elliot Friedman said that Reeves went to go apologize to Nurse face to face during the 3rd period?
Did he? No, I didn't see that.
Or he tried to. He tried to or something. How does that work?
Interesting. I don't know.
How is that possible? How are you allowed to go into? I don't know. Like, I mean, I think they met in the hallway, but I know how that the 2 dressing rooms, there's a hallway in between it. But still, like, that could have gone so ugly. Like, if you're pissed off the guy did that, like, couldn't that become like a roundhouse rodeo in the?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Here's what
I'm
would say.
dying
but we see
over
that
Chris
happen.
Vermette's comment here.
Leafs they're gonna force him to play 13 minutes a night. Yeah.
I thought it was a danger. I thought it was a dangerous play that you just can't have. Like, I think it was so stupid.
Yeah, I agree. We don't need to talk about it that often.
Yeah.
It's just the number one story.
What's your prediction though? You can't make me do it and be like, oh, you're too
You said
low.
5.
And then
I said
he said
5 to 7 range. I'll say 6. I'll say 6 games.
less.
I'll go 4 to 5.
Okay.
Are these what you think should happen or predictions?
Predictions.
I'm gonna go with 3 games.
Okay.
They want this shit out of the league. I have never cursed on this show ever, and I've done it 3
It's all
times
coming out
today.
Jets have lost 2 straight. Bombers are playing in the Grey Cup today.
Lyss is
It's
swearing.
a vulnerable
And I had to talk
spot.
about the Leafs. This is supposed to be my
And-
special
yeah.
hour on the Sunday, and I have to talk
about-
about the Leafs.
Yeah. No, I get it. Thank you guys for kind of cruising through there. Someone walked in and started printing stuff, so I was
I didn't hear it. That's awesome.
I was on mute. I was on mute
That's
and just trying to. She
Well, you know
heard
what?
all about the Ryan Reeves. Our thoughts.
I genuinely wonder between Jacob and I how long, like, you could accidentally like be on mute, whatever, and we would just yap forever, and then we'd be like, "Oh,
yeah, like me and Lyss can't stop."
Yeah,
so you're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
10 games, Paul says.
10
All right,
games, yeah,
sorry.
I
Let's
don't know.
move on.
Let's move on. Back to the Jets. So Neil Pionk fined $5,000 for clipping. We covered that. We covered the Panthers game.
that's
We covered the
crazy."
Tampa Bay game a little bit, the Rangers game, where the Jets are at 15-3 throughout the season. Thank you everyone for joining us on Sunday live. We really appreciate it. We are going to talk about the Bombers later on to end the show. As I am here in Vancouver going to the game today, super excited. But one quick thing, if you are enjoying the stream, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss this video every single Sunday. Huss and Remus posting a ton of great Cup content that's coming out, and they'll have shows all through next week as well, breaking down the games and the Jets games as well, which seems secondary on a day like today, but whatever. Last thing on the Winnipeg Jets, Jacob, Lyss and I just released a deep dive of the Jets power play over on the WST account. If people in the chat haven't checked it out after this show today, please do. What have you seen from the Jets power play that's like different from last year that's made them into the number 1 unit in the NHL after being, I think it was 22nd last year at 18%, jumping all the way up to 41%. Obviously, a hot shooting streak is baked in there, but what are some of the biggest differences, maybe stylistically, that you've seen through the first 18 games here?
Kyle Connor's not the only trigger man. That is the biggest. Is that what you guys said in the video? I didn't watch it yet.
Partly.
Okay.
We
right,
said
cool.
partly Kyle Connor, partly the stick.
Well, you said treating all 5 guys as shooting threats was a huge piece.
So Casey is not solely the trigger man, which is huge for that unit. The entries are crisp. They're existent. There's not like that was a whole other obstacle last year. And I think too, like I love what Davis Payne did with putting Ehlers in the not bumper pop, because he doesn't like when I say bumper. He doesn't like when I say bumper. The pop shot. I think it's a great layer, and it creates confusion. I think that when you like one of the things like Braden Point does really well in that role is he's deceptive. And you kind of like, oh, we forgot a point, like boom, goal, damn. Ehlers, I think, because when he's coasting, he's so fast. I think it really makes penalty kills panic a little bit, and in turn open up more ice. So that's the biggest thing for me. And then also, I don't know if this is intertwined with what we're trying to talk about, but the second unit's been effective too, and I think that that's really important. In today's NHL, the second unit is kind of an arbitrary term. Sometimes there really is no second unit guys. Like for a lot of teams in the best power plays, like who's on Edmonton's second unit?
Fresh
right?
legs that you put out there.
Right. Yeah. And so I think that's really, really great for them. I would also like to say that I think that we like having Velarde can't be your second option, I think, on a power play. He's the best possible third option because I think that like it's situational with where he can thrive. Like you need that to be less volume of chances of him shooting it and more like quality. That's my opinion. Just because like, he could lose it pretty, like not lose it, but like, it's not like a prime. He's not going to have a one-timer or an open net as often as he is going to have just a really good vantage point. So I don't know. I think it's good the way they're using him.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that we said, or Lyss brought up on the deep dive was, they tried to create that triangle last year with Scheifele, Velarde, and then Monahan in the middle. And Scheifele would kind of stand there for, I don't know, a long time, let's say, analyzing, thinking, looking for a pass, would go down to Velarde, they'd take it away, it'd go back to Scheifele, and he'd think for another 10 seconds. Like just wasn't, it was too stagnant, passive. It wasn't moving. Yeah, way too passive. Now it's a lot more direct. I know that's not really, it's go. There's urgency, like they're shooting the puck a lot more early on in the sequence as well. And Lyss and I covered a lot more stuff on the deep dive as well. Lyss, is there any other part of the Jets team game, no more talk about the power play, Jacob covered it, that you think has contributed the biggest to this 15-3 start, despite, I know, kind of a negative show today, the 2 straight losses, getting blown out yesterday, but big picture, 15-3, the power play, you can't answer. What's sort of the biggest reason for this start?
I think big thing is not a lot of people being bad at the same time is a huge contributor in my opinion. We saw the Sandberg-Pionk pairing have a poor game yesterday and a poor game against Toronto, whatever. They've been good otherwise. I thought the Morrissey-DeBella pairing looked pretty rough yesterday too, and but they've been good in other games. And like we can look through at the top line was bad, and then they were good, and they were bad again. Like everybody is kind of ebbing and flowing. This whole concept of success by committee was like the definition of the Winnipeg Jets last year, and I get that, whatever. Yeah. This was a good hockey team last year too. Like I don't want to forget about the strong fundamentals that they built up. Last year they had some really, really good pieces, and that was another thing that led to them when they were playing well, was that it was because there were a lot of guys that were kind of able to punch above their weight class and compensate for what other teams, or teammates were struggling. And so I think that right now this 15-3 win streak, a lot of it can come down to, yes, there are some pivotal plays, Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele in particular scoring some super timely goals, but they have been good more than they've been bad. You have 20 guys on your roster, whatever, that are playing hockey at the same time. More of those guys are playing good than are playing poorly, and they're able to kind of play a full team game, even in spite of some guys sometimes having some off nights.
Yes, I agree. That team game has always been, like you said, the main selling feature of the Jets. They have Connor Hellebuyck, but then they just have so much depth up front and so many contributors on the back end. It's nice to see it actually work out that way. This is a really big picture question that I want to ask you guys, but I don't even know if it'll make sense, but I'm going to try and talk it out. What you'll see a lot, even with the 15-3 start, whether it's national media, whether it's Jets fans online, is that nothing matters except the playoffs. Like this team, the last 2 years, they've won 1 game and then lose 4 straight. So until they can prove they can win in the playoffs, none of this matters, despite the fact they had the greatest start in NHL history, et cetera, et cetera. Well, where do you guys kind of fall on with how the Jets have played the last 2 years in the playoffs? How much, you obviously have to make the playoffs first. The Jets are in a prime position to do so. But Jacob, I'll start with you. How much stock do you put into the regular season mattering when it comes to playoff time, if that makes sense?
Well, it matters in situations like we're going to see on Tuesday. They have a second crack at Florida. Like, that is a unique opportunity to show, like, if they lose that game the way they lost it again, they're in trouble. Straight up. Like, and I don't care. And that's where it's like, regular season doesn't matter. Like, if you can't, like, sorry, let me back that up. Not in trouble. I'm like, that's concerning.
Yes.
Like, that is a concerning thing. Regular season matters. But, like, before the playoffs last year, they pumped Dallas and Colorado, like, before last year's playoffs. And then they went up and then they won the first game, and then they got thumped. So, like, the regular season matters, but I don't know, guys. Like, I think that I understand where Jets fans are coming from. Like, we're at a really unique point of this market where the ticket sales aren't at their best, as we know. There's a full and understandable push to win a Stanley Cup. There's been a lot of regular season success here, but the playoffs, like, they haven't won a round in quite some time. And they won the round in COVID or whatever, but there hasn't been a second round at Canada Life Center in years, guys. So I get what fans are saying, and I think that in terms of the macro view, nothing does matter to the playoffs. Like, if they don't win a round, like, that's tough for this team and the support they're going to get from the fans. I really believe that.
Really? Okay. Lyss, are you in that camp as well?
I'm a little less heavy on that train, right? In the sense of I agree. It's because I know you, Jacob, and I know you're smart and I get what you're saying. So I'm, like, on board with what you're saying. But when I hear people that say, well, none of this matters on the street and passing or in conversation, I get frustrated because I can't throw out 82 games at the expense of 5. I can't do it. But where I land is back to the kind of trifecta I was talking about earlier about, like, the player skill, the mental toughness, and the adaptable decision making, those 3 big things. You need to have the good players as the foundational building blocks, whatever. Like, you need to have that as a baseline. And the Winnipeg Jets, I think, are getting closer to that proper baseline. Because last year, decision-making and, like, adaptability was what shot them in the foot for those 5 games against Colorado. But the players, like, I would have liked to have seen even better building blocks to kind of get them to that position. So I think they still have a little bit of ground to cover in that area. And, like, right now we're seeing that the personnel might be okay. I think 1 or 2 trade deadline acquisitions could turn this into a team that has the baseline that they need to take it to the next level. But I completely understand what you're saying. And it's one of those things I feel like I would always take the opposing stance, because if someone, you know, were to say to me, it's like, well, this has been an amazing team they were first in the league at part of last year, first in the league in this year, and blah, 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 I would say, hold on. Like, where's the banner for that? Right. You know, so I do have different, I'm kind of flip-flopping back and forth, but maybe it's just because I'm a Connor Hellebuck truther and everyone always brings up the playoffs with him. And I say it's the best American born goaltender ever. I don't care what, you know, your, again, 7-8 games that you're talking about have to say to compensate for the fact that for the past 6 seasons, he's been the best goalie in the league, you know?
Yeah. Can I say one more thing? And listen, I actually agree with what you said completely. The one thing I guess I will say to maybe back it up is, like, where I think the regular season doesn't matter is, like, if Vladislav Nemesnikov is doing well right now as a second line center, I don't think that eliminates the need for a second line center. Like, I still think that you can take the regular season success with a certain grain of salt in saying, okay, this is working now, but we've all seen what it's been like the last 2 years in the playoffs. We've seen where the Jets will falter kind of the playoffs and why they went and got Sean Monahan and so on and so forth. So, and even the defense, like, why I think they need another defenseman. So that's kind of where, if that makes any sense, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, I think that you can take regular season success with a bit of a grain of salt in some instances. But to Lyss's point, last year and the year before, the Jets, particularly the last 7-game stretch, and then the 8th game before, they still won 8 games. Like, this is the best version so far of the Jets we've seen in the post-Maurice era. And that can't be forgotten. And even if there's questions about the playoffs, you cannot deny that the way they're clicking right now is, like, the issues that I'm bringing up and the fear tactics I'm employing here are bigger picture situations here. This team is 15-3. Like, you know, that can't be forgotten.
That's why we're talking about a lot of big picture stuff today, if people haven't noticed. But, like, they're 15-3. They've lost 2 straight games. Now's kind of a good 18 games in, good time to maybe analyze the first quarter-ish of the season. Coming up on American Thanksgiving. Like, we know a decent amount about the Winnipeg Jets right now. Yes, their most recent 2 games they have lost, but they also got off to the best 15-game start in NHL history. So there's a little bit of balancing to do there. You guys both mentioned trade deadline. I know we're only 18 games in. We're a few months away from the trade deadline. But if you had to guess right now, what do you think the Jets' biggest need is that they should be targeting? And you see teams make trades early for the trade deadline as well, like a month and a half before. The Sean Monahan deal came in January, I believe. Or maybe it was early February because it was around the All-Star break there. But what do you think the Jets' biggest need will be at the trade deadline this season if they're in a position to buy, Lyss?
I say right-handed defenseman. And where I go with that is I think that the 2C is the other spot that I look at, but I think the Jets have a little bit more flexibility to move around their forwards and play the lines a little bit differently and whatnot to compensate for the fact that if, Vladimir Meskov, for example, isn't up to par, they can, give them more ozone starts, so they can play them less. Like, there's a little bit more flexibility, I think, that you have with a forward group. I am worried about the Josh Morrissey pairing and the Dylan Sandberg pairing on the left there. That those 2 pairings playing 45 plus minutes a night for the rest of the season. I really, really am. I think a right-handed defenseman is where I go, and not a Jordy Ben, right? I'm talking a legitimate NHL defenseman.
Yeah. Jacob, where do you fall on that with their biggest need ahead of the trade deadline?
I would agree. Their biggest need is a right-hand defense.
Need a goalie.
They need a goalie. They need a goalie. The biggest need is Brad Lambert. No, the biggest need is a right-hand defenseman. I don't know what they're going to get though. I've looked at Puckpedia. I've looked at who. I don't know what they could be, and I almost see the best case scenario is I don't even know what they're going to get for a second line center, but a 2C, a Monahan-esque sort of upgrade, and then another top 4 piece that is maybe not a surefire top 4 guy, but someone that maybe brings a bit of a different flavor than a DeMello, for instance. But I don't know if there is that out there, guys. Like that's the real problem. And I think the Jets did try to find that this offseason, but from what I understand, they ran into what they do a lot and we don't appreciate. It's a lot of teams that have the Jets on their no trade list. So like I think that for years now that they've been trying to get Ehlers and trade him for a right-hand defenseman. We've heard the rumors of Pesci at one point. There was other things that have been out there. Yeah. The problem is there's just so few right-hand defensemen available. There's so few of those that I'm sure have Winnipeg not on a no-trade list that are on team control. So it's a very slippery slope there. Like, guys, every team in the league always wants a right-hand defenseman. It's not just a Winnipeg thing.
I know.
When you add that layer of the no-trade stuff, like it does complicate it, right? Like, so
okay, then here's my question. Do you think that with this league best start and this whatever, like, do you think there are more options available to the Jets this year in the sense of, do you think more players would be willing and able to waive? Yeah,
for sure. But let's go back. The first part is I think there's very few guys like, even available.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. And
everyone wishes right-handed defenseman grew on trees. I totally get it.
Right. Let's take out actually the no trade part, guys, because I think Lyss makes a great point, especially in this situation. So we're looking at just like 1 year guys rentals. It's pretty skinny. Like Connor Murphy, who's a good player, but I don't know if he's a tangible upgrade on Dylan DeMello at all. Like he wouldn't be at all. I don't think is there, but I think he's an extra year remaining. Like I don't know, guys. I think it's a lot easier said than done.
You think
it's also
Jets,
weird too because we don't know who's gonna be available because like the league right now, like there's teams in last place where it's like, oh, I expect to be better. Like are the Flyers open for business? Like I guess I don't know.
That's the thing. There does need to be some more kind of evening out of the standings to kind of know which team's going to be selling and who's going to be buying. But I think, and Elliot Friedman wrote this in his 32 Thoughts piece, the Jets go in when they have a good team. Like Kevin Cheveldayoff trades his one. So this is a conversation that we're going to be having, I think, for the next couple months here.
The Colby Barlow trade's going to go crazy in February.
Colby Barlow. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we'll see. No, but Cheveldayoff has I don't know. There used to be this common like group think that he doesn't go in when they have a good team or something, but now he's traded his one like every year that they've been in the top
Cheveldayoff has made the best moves at the best times. In 22-23, I think we all had a bit of, I don't know if this team can do it. All right, I'll get Nino and I'll get Vlad.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get them for pennies on the dollar. We believe in the players. It's worked out pretty darn well, right? That year, should have traded first? No. We were talking.
No.
That was the hurdle year, right?
The hurdle year.
No,
yes, it
Meyer,
was
Timo
Meyer.
No,
yeah,
Timo.
Oh, hurdle was last year.
Yeah,
hurdle was last year.
Hurdle was
Meyer
last
was 2 years ago. Okay,
Yes,
I was on
that's
level
right.
flight. We're talking about trading prospects for Timo Meyer, and I said this is not the year to do that. Like so Chevy done that, the PLD trade, even the Trouba deal, guys, getting the value. Like I think he's done an unbelievable job when his back's against the wall, when his hands are tied. He makes unbelievable moves.
Best reactor GM in the league. Absolutely.
And he doesn't
honestly
do rash
need that in
decisions.
Winnipeg too.
He doesn't do rash decisions. Everything is thought out and methodical, guys. Like I think that needs to be remembered here.
Yeah, and hey, look at the Rucker McGroarty Braden Yeager swap as just the latest example of
unbelievable deal.
Exceptional.
Yeah.
Exceptional deal.
Despite a public trade request, the ability to get a prospect who was taken in the same spot the next year and it's just 1 year younger.
Unbelievable value. Who wants to be in Winnipeg too?
Who wants to be in Winnipeg? Yes. That is the most important part. I assume with people in chat, I think that's the most important part.
Well,
but,
okay, and then maybe I know we're getting short for time here, but I do like the last thing is there's so much I feel like people talk about with this team they have been together for a long time. And we talk about, for example, trade deadline goaltender trades don't usually work out super well because your relationship with your defenseman is so important. And I'm usually the last person to get super pressed about like they all need to be friends or anything like that. Like I'm like, get good hockey players and make them figure it out. And I do stand by that to a certain extent, but I do think this group is very connected at this point. And I don't care if they hang out and watch football together on Sundays or not. It's more about how well they understand how one another plays. And I do have a not a fear, but if you bring in, like the Sidney Crosbys of the world, right, where it's someone who's completely brand new, a brand new superstar, and how well the Winnipeg Jets would manage that. And that's why I feel like the types of the Nino and Vlad deals, they're not at the forefront. They're not Tyler Toffoli being brought in and saying, oh my gosh, like this guy could score goals automatically. Watch him do this for this team. It's a little bit different. So, but that being said, you can't just bring in more middle six guys if you need top six guys.
For sure.
I think I agree with you, Lyss, completely. The best moves that articulate what you're saying is the Stastny and Monahan acquisitions. Because both of those were situations where, and Stastny had an incredible playoff as he did, but the reason they were brought in was we need guys in each of these years that can help push our wingers, not take away, or guys that can help drive them to be their best. And it was honestly like Paul Stastny was like the playoffs he had, I don't think anyone expected the level that he got to. But you need guys that have those really desired center characteristics, veteran leadership to propel young wingers. And Ehlers is a young winger. He just needs someone that can kind of help him be his best. Perfetti's a younger winger. He needs someone that can help him facilitate and do what he needs to do. So those are two deals that kind of embody what Lyss is saying.
Yep, I'm with you. We've buried the lead long enough. I'm here in Vancouver. There's a football game today, if you haven't heard. The Blue Bombers are taking on the Toronto Argonauts in the 111th Grey Cup. Everyone in the chat is super fired up for this game today. The Bombers in their 5th straight Grey Cup, looking to win their 3rd of these last 5 years. Jacob, I know you're not the biggest CFL guy, but I'll ask you this.
I am. I just am not the most knowledgeable.
Okay.
I don't know much.
I'll ask you this. If a team goes to 5 straight finals, are they a dynasty, regardless of the results?
Yeah, of course they are. Of course
they are.
Okay. Of course they're a dynasty. Half a decade to be able to get there. Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know this. Like, did the oh God, I could be really on a limb here, but didn't the BC Lions have a stretch at one point where they went to a couple Grey Cups, like 3 maybe, or like the Alouettes at one point?
Most recently, Calgary was like the dominant team in the mid 2010s there. And then
how many times did they go? 3 times?
Oh, like lots. Yeah. Like they were the Bombers of the time.
Right.
I don't know the exact number, but they, yeah.
I don't know why I thought Lions. I'm just basing off of like which team was on when I was eating my cereal in the morning, watching highlights. I don't know, guys. But I think for sure the dynasty. I don't want to take up any airtime here. The fans deserve better. You guys know better. All I know is that Bomber home games are the best atmosphere in the entire city, except for a whiteout. And a whiteout is the best product the city ever has, and they are amazing. Yes. They're obviously more rare, but a Bombers home game is unbelievable. I love it every time I go, and I hope I got a lot of friends that are dire Bombers fans, including my two right here. So I hope they win tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Lyss,
what if
you don't have
a
to
terrible comment to make on?
Okay, go ahead.
There are 9 teams in the CFL, guys.
Oh my god, I knew you were gonna go there.
I don't buy that. Knew it. I don't buy that for a second.
I'm here for
I don't buy it for a second.
Tampa Bay, some people don't even consider to be a dynasty, and they won 2 cups back to back.
Tampa Bay is a dynasty, though.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, at least we're on the same page there. Okay, but the Edmonton Elks haven't even been it's like they don't even exist in the CFL for the last 5 years.
But Lyss, to that point, there's only 9 teams, but there's only 1 game a week. There's less games, so it's even more important to win. It's even probability-wise, math-wise, to get back there is probably obviously in the favor of a dynasty being formed in that small of a league. But I would argue that there's so much more room for air. What was that game against the Argos, where that kick or whatever?
Yeah,
they lost. Right. That's football in essence. It comes down to one play.
No, I think listen, I do believe they are, and partially it's also not just results based, but also because it's been the same core players through all 5 of those years. They are the dynasty, right? So I understand what you're saying, but also it's just kind of you are more likely to make the playoffs than not make the playoffs. It's there's really not that many.
But we're not calling them a dynasty for making the playoffs. Call them a dynasty for going to 5 straight Grey Cups.
Yeah.
We're trying to enjoy Grey Cup Sunday, and you're coming in here with 100 hockey hats behind you, telling us how it's not a dynasty with the CBA on your phone.
Yeah, exactly.
So we get this nerd out of here.
Yeah.
It's fine. Talk about the neutral zone for 10 minutes, Lyss. You got to pass.
Yes, exactly.
I'm in good company with that.
Wait,
so,
Connor, why don't you tell us, fans, about who you're at the Grey Cup with and the crew that you roll with every week.
Yes. So shout out to my dad. Got Bernie here, my dad's cousin Jody and Tom. That's the crew that we tailgate before every Bomber game at my dad's place. Go to the games together. It's an absolute blast. And we all, after the West Final, impulsively bought tickets to be here. And the last 2 days,
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Well, we had the rooms booked, but we didn't have tickets or flights or anything. But yes. Then we made it here, and the last 2 days have been genuinely so much fun. There's been these parties here,
but you didn't have the flight.
Yeah. Oh, the hotels were booked a year and a half ago.
Oh,
when they announced the Grey Cup was in BC, they booked the rooms, get the good rate there, and then you can just
okay.
Got it.
But you knew you were going to the Grey Cup.
There's a plan here. No, not until Saturday night after the West Final.
So
then
when
we bought
rooms?
A year and a half ago, but we don't have to use the rooms.
Oh, okay. Continue. Back to the story.
Yes. Okay, so anyways, we're here. We've bought the 3-day pass. We've seen so many Bomber fans, WST fans. We met people yesterday. We were watching the Jets game together from Kamloops, BC, who have lived out there for 10 years after moving from Winnipeg, who said they listen to the show every day. They love Huss. They took a photo with Huss and I. It was this weekend has been so awesome seeing all these people. Awesome. There's so many Bomber fans. I'm having so much fun. And Derek Schmidt asking how much work have I had to do? Actually, not much. I've had to do this work today, and I appeared on WST on Friday.
For you.
But other than that, I've just been walking around Vancouver, just having a great time. This city's amazing. So I'm super excited.
Jacob and I are having a great time in Winnipeg. The Manitoba Moose just called up Fabian Wagner from the SHL, so we have a lot to talk about over here.
Sweet.
I didn't even know that. There we go.
It happened 2 seconds ago.
There we go. Well, in the chat below, drop your score prediction for the game today. Bombers, Argos, 111th Grey Cup. Did I hit the bouncy castle? I did not. Remus actually considered it.
Sure.
Although I think we have a reel, an Instagram reel coming out here on some of the things that we did. I kicked a field goal. Some of them kicked a field goal. I raced Remus in a 40-yard dash.
Attempt? Or you kicked a field goal?
And I kicked a field goal and I nailed it.
Oh,
how far?
Okay.
20 yards maybe.
That's pretty good.
I did the Sergio Castillo little double point to the sky.
That's incredible.
I did the whole.
How do you get on the field? The 3-day pass gets you on the field?
No. It gets you to the convention center where there's tons of stuff. Like that's where Huss and Remus were set up Thursday and Friday. And then there's like the team parties where those were bumping last night. There's all these field goal kicks you can do. That's the other side, more the kid zone, stuff like that. So it's been such a fun weekend. And then the game's today. The game is in 5 hours. This is going to be a great day. 11 a.m. Sunday permanent time slot. No, I only did that because I didn't really feel like waking up at 7 a.m. Vancouver time to do the show today. But we will be back at 9 a.m. next Sunday. Hopefully talking about a Bombers win. Hopefully talking about a big Jets week coming up here as they
back-to-back games on that Friday, Saturday of that Sunday show.
You are right.
So
yes, and
I will be coaching my own dynasty, so I will not be in attendance next week. There,
your own dynasty.
Talk about 5-time Grey Cup attendees. My kids won 5 games in a row, so I'm pretty sure that's a dynasty. And U11 hockey.
Connor, what's your score prediction?
My score prediction: 23-14 for the Bombers. Huss has been saying all week long he likes the under in this game. We're not doing the cool bit lines here, but the over-under is like 51 points. I think that's way too high. I think it'll be low scoring. Yeah,
and
I think
the Bombers haven't scored a lot against the Argos this year, so I agree with you. Hit that under for sure.
2-1 Bombers, last second Rouge. The 2 Rouge to 1 Rouge.
That's enough. This stream is over.
Gregory Liverpool says Winnipeg 50, Toronto 20. Jeff Kabila says 24-16 Bombers. Lee B 33-28. Some great predictions here. Derek Schmidt 15-12 for the Bombers. Great show today. Enjoy the game today, everyone. The Bombers are a dynasty, but let's make it 3 out of the first 5 years. I'm super excited for this game. Hopefully the Bombers win, and then we can, talk about it next week here on WST Sunday Live. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us. If you enjoyed the stream, hit the like, the subscribe, and the notification bell. We just went over 12,000 subscribers, so hit the notification so you don't miss all the content that we have coming out over the next couple weeks as the Jets pick up their season with a 6-game road trip after Tuesday's game against Florida. Tune in Monday, Huss and Remus, 1 o'clock. They'll have all the reaction, I think, from their hotel room on this Bombers Argonauts game before they leave Vancouver. I'm Connor. She's Lyss. He's Jacob. Thank you so much. And we will see you next Sunday. Go Blue today and have a great day, everyone. See ya.
See you guys.